Good afternoon. Welcome back to another edition of the B&H Virtual Event Space. You are tuned into how to choose the right vocal mic for your performance, hosted by Shure. And of course, we couldn't do this without the wonderful Laura and Russ from Shure. What's going on, folks?
What's
Hello.
happening?
All right, who's singing today? We can't do something on vocal mics and one of you not belt out of tune.
Oh,
I don't
it's not
know.
going to be me.
Well, we'll see.
There
For
we
the
go.
benefit
Let's
of our
go. We got to have
viewers.
people interacting. You know, that's what we need, Derek. We need people
Right.
asking all the questions.
I love it. I love incentive. So you heard it right here. If you guys interact, get those questions in, maybe we will get lucky enough to get graced to the tune by Laura.
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll see. Ask all the questions.
Well, I can guarantee you we will get some great information today, especially for those vocalists out there. And if you have any questions on mics in general, we have the experts here to answer those. So I'm going to step aside, let the experts take over, and you guys enjoy the show and make sure you get those questions in.
So today we are going to talk about how to go about choosing the right vocal microphone. So we know there's a lot of different applications, whether you're, in a rock band playing live or in a club, or if you're, a comedian or just somebody giving a speech at a corporate event, there's different mics for different applications. So before we dive into specific examples, figured we would just go over a couple of basics. So handheld microphones have different polar patterns, which basically means where the microphone is picking sound up from. So the three most common types are cardioid, which is designed to pick up like the SM58, which is right here, which we'll talk about in a second. It's a cardioid microphone, which is designed to pick up sound from right in front of it. It picks up a little bit from the sides, but it's really designed to reject a lot of that noise. Then you've got supercardioid, which is going to be a narrower pickup area. These are really good if you're in a loud environment, and they just do a much better job of rejecting that outside noise from the sides. And then you've got omnidirectional, which is designed to pick up from all around it. Those are most commonly found in like newscasting microphones and things where you do want to pick up that ambience, or if you don't really have control over the person that's holding the microphone, they might move it around. They're a lot more forgiving for those applications. But for today, we're going to focus more on the music type application for singers and vocalists. So without further ado, I think we should probably start with the icon. So
Yeah.
This is the SM58, which is a dynamic cardioid microphone. So again, designed to pick up sound from right in front of it. This microphone was first introduced in 1966 and has been the industry standard ever since. Rock bands, pop stars, stand-up comedians, 9 times out of 10, if you're at a club or a bar or a venue, they're probably using this microphone. So a couple cool things about this mic. It's really known for its durability. This thing is built like a tank. I've got stories about things we've done to these microphones, and you wouldn't believe it. Just know that whatever you do to this microphone within reason, it's going to survive. It's
been done before.
It's been done. It has
been
been done. Yeah. On the inside of the grill, which I can show you real quick, it's got a built-in pop screen, so that's actually going to help to cut out some of that wind noise, breathing noise, and things like that. I know it's hard to see, but it's under there. It stands up to high temperatures, humidity, all of that stuff. I mean, this thing, when I say it's built like a tank, it is built like a tank, all metal construction. And I'm going to switch to it so we can hear what it sounds like. All right.
Yeah. While Russ is switching over to that, just real quick, some of the things we're going to throw these slides up so you can see kind of the inner workings of the mic and see what the frequency response is and what the polar patterns are, is to just show how it's going to respond to the voice. And if you're speaking into it, if you're singing into it, it has a really nice flat response with just a little bit of bump in the high end. And that's why you have a nice intelligibility when you use your SM58. So when Russ starts talking again, you'll be able to hear him crisply and cleanly because that's got that little boost for speaking specifically, but it's got that cardioid pattern so that it's going to let you talk and reject sounds coming in from the rear and the sides and focus on what's exactly in front of the mic.
Right. And when you're looking at those charts, I know a lot of it can get kind of techie and we didn't really want to go there. But if you imagine, where it's showing the pickup pattern, yeah, right there. If you kind of imagine the microphone, this is hard with the background, kind of hanging down onto the top of the, that round heart-shaped thing over there, that's showing you where the mic is actually picking up from.
Yeah.
So that's just so you know what you're looking at. And then to the right where you see the actual frequency response chart, again, without getting too technical, the left is going to be your lower frequencies, so your bass. The right is going to be your higher frequencies. That's going to be your treble and kind of the airiness of the microphones. So even if you don't know what each frequency sounds like specifically, you can very generally look at it and say, okay, well, that's got a big bump on the right side, so it's going to have some more treble and some more air to it. So just so you know what you're looking at. So without further ado, this is the SM58 that you can hear coming through. And I should also point out that, oops, sorry.
My headphone is shorter than I thought it was.
It absolutely is. This is where we're holding the microphone from the handle.
Yes. Yeah.
This is not where you hold the microphone from. You can probably hear how much different the microphone sounds when you cup it like this. So this is not what you want to do for any microphone. This is where we want to be. So you want to be, within usually like 2 fingers from your mouth between the microphone. That's really where you want to be.
Yeah.
With this mic.
Because when you cup the mic, it essentially turns your beautiful cardioid microphone that engineers worked many, many years to perfect into an omnidirectional mic. And omnidirectional mics have their place, but you don't want them to be an omnidirectional mic on the stage. It'll cause feedback. It'll cause what's called proximity effect, where it gets really built up bass, low end frequencies. And it's
like
just not great. Yep. It's not great. Don't do it.
Right. And when you do your sound check and the sound guy gets you all set up and then you get on the mic and start doing this, it's going to throw off everything the sound guy did before. So
yeah, it's not good.
Hold the mic from the handle. That's
that's our PSA for the
public
day.
Service announcement for the day.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So, so this is SM58. Not sure if any questions are coming in or comments or anything on the chat there, but this is SM58, and next mic is the Beta 58, which Laura's got on her side.
Which I just happen to be talking into right now. Yeah, so the Beta 58 has, you can see, has this nice little blue ring around it, which is kind of a visual differentiator. But besides that, it also has a hardened grill that's going to be a little bit more dent resistant than your SM58. Fun fact, though, the SM58 screen is made as a crumple zone of sorts, so that if you and when you drop it and it dents, it won't hurt the capsule or the diaphragm of the mic. So fun fact. And the Beta 58 is even harder. So when you drop it, it's going to be even more dent resistant. Now, this is a supercardioid microphone, and supercardioids have a cool polar pattern that is much like your cardioid friends. However, it has a little bit of a tail end on the back. So it can pick up much more closely than the cardioid brethren. But you do want to be sure, if you're using floor wedges, that you are not pointing it at the floor wedge directly, because it has a slight chance of feeding back, because you'll see it has this little kind of tail end coming out the back rear end of the mic. So just be careful and be aware if you are using a Beta 58, it's a supercardioid pattern. And so it will be tighter and more responsive. So if I take it out of here, and if I go off axis, it's going to be much less forgiving than the 58. Are you still on the 58, Russ?
Yes, I am.
Because if you go off axis a little bit.
Yeah, if I go off axis a little bit, you still kind of get me there.
Yeah.
A little more forgiving.
Yeah, and this one, not so much. I'm gone. So why that's helpful is if you're using this on a stage with a loud band and you're the vocalist and you want to stand out and you don't want all the drums going down into your mic, it's much better at rejecting those. So if you're using this on a stage, It's great when you're using in-ears. You won't have any of that feedback. And it's not a huge problem or catastrophe. You can avoid it if you are using floor wedges, but just something to keep in mind if you're using any supercardioid microphones as their polar pattern, to just be aware if you're using floor wedges. But it's got a little bit of a boost in that high end, so it's going to give me a little bit more presence, a little bit more of an airy shimmer to the tone. And it's just a little bit brighter and has that, again, that more durable screen, but similar form factors that SM58.
Right. And just to compare, if you think about having a floor wedge right in front of you, if we try to talk into the back of this microphone, you're not getting me all that much in there. So imagine that my voice is the floor wedge. It's
right.
not really picking up all that much. So it's a really good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have a cardioid pattern because it's going to reject anything coming in from the rear. So your stage, your audience screaming adoringly at you, you don't want them coming back into your mic and causing feedback. So that's why a cardioid pattern is great. So yeah, just something to think of and keep in mind. But if you want something that's going to be more responsive, tighter to your voice, tighter to the source, reject more coming in from the sides, and that's when your supercardioid comes in handy.
Right. Yeah. So moving on, we've got the Super 55.
Yeah, we do.
Which I trying desperately to. There we go. Super 55.
All those
There we go.
Good.
So this is your classic the supercardioid version of the 55SH, more commonly known as the Elvis mic. So this microphone, I'm actually going to switch to it, and I'll speak into it in a second. But cool things with this one, you can adjust the angle. So if you've got it mounted on a stand, trying to find the right angle here while I'm talking about angles.
Yeah, right in front of
There
your
we go.
face.
You can
just
go
have to put it
back,
right
you
in
can
front
go
of
forward, right in front of my face. Here we go. It's got a nice handle, can be mounted to a stand, and you got your cable there, right? So with this microphone, this can take a lot of volume. So for those singers that like to really belt and the screamers and all of that, this is a great microphone for that. So let me switching over to that. Here we go. So yeah, Super 55. Again, just like the other Shure mics, I mean, this thing, it's got some weight to it. It feels like a tank. It's got a really nice smooth frequency response. It's just a great mic. It also has the built-in windscreen, which is blue, and again, super cardioid. So if I come off axis here, you're gonna lose me, and as we come past it, you'll pick me up nice here, and then not much here either. So really good. If you got a loud band around you, just like with the Beta 58 we're just talking about. Does a really great job of rejecting all of that sound.
Well, and fun fact too, it's the same capsule as our Beta 58 mic. So it's
Yes.
it's not a reissue, but it was an anniversary edition that we brought out from our 55SH edition, which we lovingly refer to as the Elvis mic. And it was brought out in, I think, 2010. Don't quote me on that. Maybe John can hit me up if he Googles it. And we brought that out as kind of a nod to the mic as an anniversary option, but kicked it up a notch, modernized it, put that new capsule in it. So if you're looking for that really cool look and you want to have the great response of a super cardioid microphone, polar pattern, that's what the Super 55 is great for. Nice. Just take you out, just put the mic. Here we go.
Got it. I finally got it.
Got it. I did it. You did it, everybody. Oh, those backdrops.
Right.
They're the bane of our existence. I tell you what.
I know.
Yikes.
Yeah, so again, dynamic microphones. So really good with loud volumes. And yeah, great for stage. Great for stage. All right. So yeah, moving on. We're going to go back to the mic that I originally started at, which is the SM86, which is a condenser microphone. So this microphone, in comparison to the other ones that we've been talking about so far, it's condenser microphones. First of all, they're going to require phantom power from your mixer or audio interface if you're using it at home or in a studio. The SM86 or condenser microphones in general tend to be a lot more sensitive. So for picking up all of the nuances in your voice, all the detail in the voice or instrument for that matter, that's where these really shine. So the basically what I got lost for a second. I'm sorry.
SM86 is my favorite
SM86.
microphone. So if you get
Woo!
lost on this one, I am no
No.
worries. It's my
So
fave.
what's really awesome, I'll show you guys next. There's actually a 3-point suspension on this, which is going to help for handling noise or cutting out handling noise. And
Eliminates
it also has, it's also got a really good windscreen on it as well to cut out all that breath noise and wind noise.
Now, everything that we're saying to you right now is like a bunch of words because all of our product names, SM86, Beta 58, SM58. If you're like super lost, please pipe up in the chat and ask the comments and questions. But the main gist of what we're trying to tell you today and help you figure out is that there are several varieties of live performance microphones out there. And if you thought that all you could use on stage was a dynamic mic like the SM58, we're here to kind of show that there are so many other cool options available. And the SM86, like I said, it's my fave. The response of it is brilliant. It's so warm. It's so present and not being crispy on the top, throwing a lot of weird terms at you. If you're kind of like, what does crispy mean? It just means like it's too harsh on those higher frequencies that we were showing you in the frequency response charts. And it's an incredibly priced mic, super easy to use, has, again, as Russ mentioned, an incredible shock mount. So you're not going to have handling noise, which some microphones can be prone to when you're on stage. And when you're doing all those rock moves all over the place, you don't want to be hearing, boom, boom, you want to be hearing just your voice coming through. And so the SM86 is a fantastic option for that. If you're looking for a condenser mic, it's a little more responsive, picking up those nuances. It's fantastic for you.
Right. Also great. I was playing around with this mic last night. I actually put it on my acoustic guitar and it sounded phenomenal. Just picks up all of the, I mean, it's not designed as an instrument microphone, but
that's fun.
It sounded great. Just all the nuances, all the, the detail in the instrument, it all just comes right through. Sounded really, really great.
And it's cardioid, so it's going to be blocking stage noise as well. So something to think about. And the most important thing that we always say when Russ and I are ever talking to people about microphones is we really want to be able to have you try them, which is easier said than done. But at B&H, you can go into their mic room and you can try them out because they have a bunch of the mics there for you to give a go, including some of our studio microphones, which we've talked about before. So just saying, it's worth the try, definitely. And Super 55 launched in 2009. Thank you, John, for being my phone a friend for that.
Nice.
I was close.
All right. So so moving on, we got the Beta 87. We've got there.
Up next. Okay, so this is the Beta 87A, and there's a Beta 87C. Now the C stands for cardioid, A stands for supercardioid. That's just the model as it came out. And we made the cardioid model because then as people were having those experiences with supercardioid coming through the floor wedge or moving more towards in-ears, you can have that supercardioid pattern with your in-ears, or you can have it in cardioid. And actually, I keep referring to John. John is our colleague. He's also kind of hiding out in the background on the stream, but he prefers the C for the Beta 87. So that cardioid pickup pattern. So there's options for people out there. Oh, there he is. So this is his fave. I'll fight him on it though, because the SM86 all day, John, all day. Just saying. But the Beta 87A is what I'm talking into right now. So you can hear a little bit more even of a presence boost. I'm just going to pull up the frequency chart here so you can see what we're talking about and just compare it. So this is the SM86 that we were talking about here. And you can see in that top end around the 910 kilohertz here. And then if we look at our Beta 87A, you can see it's even more pronounced. So it has that bit of a shimmer on the top end, which is what a lot of singers and live vocalists really love about the Beta 87 specifically, is that it's much more present and bright. So if you're looking for something that's going to cut through the mix, give you a really great sound, have that ability to reject unwanted sounds coming in with that tighter polar pattern of supercardioid, then the Beta 87A is a really awesome choice for that.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in real quick, a lot of people, what they like to do, if you've got a large group or, houses of worship do this all the time, they'll do a condenser microphone like an SM86 or a Beta 87 for, for the main vocalist. And then for background people, they can do SM58s or Beta 58s. You don't have to have the same microphone for each person. A lot of people like to, switch it up a little bit, again, based on the environment and, the application and what they're actually doing.
Right. That's a good point. And I think that what often gets overlooked when we talk about microphones is that even in especially in house of worship, I feel like is that you'll buy one mic and think it's kind of a one size fits all, but it's really not. And every microphone is going to fit everyone's instrument differently. I prefer the SM86 on my voice, on my instrument, just because it's a little bit smoother. The 87 is almost a little too bright for me. So I like to go with the 86 instead. And it really comes down to trying it out. So if you are purchasing mics for a house of worship or for education, it's important to know what types of vocalists that are going to be using it. If you have predominantly male vocalists, then the Beta 87 sounds fantastic on male vocals. But if you're, going to be having a ton of higher sopranos, maybe go with something that's got a little bit more of a flatter frequency curve. Something like the SM would be really good for that.
Cool. So next up, we've got and Laura's got it too, the KSM-8.
I got it too. Hold on, I got to plug it in. Hold on, stand by.
So a lot of people like they'll use a condenser for the lead vocalist for the, all the nuance and the detail in the sound that they're going to get from that. And then for your backup vocals, that's kind of where the SM or the Beta come in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's this one, and this one is so cool. So this is the KSM-8. It's a totally different animal. This features our dual dyne technology, which has two diaphragms right here. So it's actually going to block out the lower frequencies and not have proximity effect or not be as prone to it. And it also has a really large sweet spot. Now, when I say that, it's a cardioid microphone, meaning it has that heart-shaped pickup pattern. So it's going to block the noise coming in from the sound from the rear and the back and sides. But this one has a much more forgiving sweet spot based on those two diaphragms that it has. So if I were doing this with an SM58, I'd be like, you'd be going like this because it'd be out of phase like crazy, hearing my voice all over. But this is great for people who maybe are afraid of the mic and maybe refuse to put it in front of their faces. House of worship people, I might be looking at you. I'm just saying, I've been to church a number of times and people they get up and they're terrified of the mic or it's over here somewhere. And so, KSM-8 actually alleviates that, which reminds me that we have this cool video series called How Do You Do That? And there's one that I have on there that's called How To and How Not to Hold a Microphone. So if you go to YouTube and follow the Shure Creators channel, you can see all kinds of videos like that, specifically that one.
That's a fantastic video, by the way.
Thank you. It's something, but I don't know. But it's an important thing to say because we talk about how you shouldn't cup the mic. But if you are someone who has not the best microphone technique, like what I'm doing right now, then the KSM-8 is really going to be great for you because you noticed I have changed the position of the mic like a million times and it's still sounding pretty much the same. Whereas if I switch over to this, to my Beta 58, if I do this and I talk down like this, I'm gone. And it totally changes the timbre of the mic. So something to think about. If you don't have the best microphone technique, maybe go with the KSM-8.
Yeah, and the KSM-8, it's what's cool about that. It's kind of like you get the clarity and the detail of a condenser microphone from a dynamic mic.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. If anyone's sung or spoken into a condenser versus a dynamic, you'll notice that the condenser responds much more quickly and you don't have to put quite as much energy into what you're performing or talking into it. And that's just in how the microphone itself is designed. Condenser microphones have a much more sensitive diaphragm, which is why they pick up more of the noise and nuances and details. So yeah, that's a great observation that the KSM-8 can kind of respond like a condenser.
Yeah, they sound amazing. I love those.
Yes. Yeah, keep talking so I'm going to unscrew it and show them the dual dyne.
Yeah, go for it. And then, so there's the KSM-8, which is dynamic. There you go. And it's a little blurry, but you can kind of there you go. You can see the two capsules in there. Kind of. There you go. So that's the KSM-8 dynamic. There's also the KSM-9, which is a condenser. That one, she's got it there too. So that is the KSM-9 is the first ever handheld condenser with 2 diaphragms and switchable polar patterns, meaning it can be cardioid as well as supercardioid.
Yes, it's very fancy.
Yes.
This is my shining star, this microphone. KSM-9 is for those of you who are wanting a super present microphone that you're not going to have to do anything to get sound out of it. Great sound. It's so responsive. It's so buttery. And it just has like a nice, smooth feel at cable, not the microphone. Nice, smooth feel, crunch. Wonderful cables. And so that's why I love singing into this microphone when I'm on smaller stages or when I have like a jazz trio that I'm working with. This microphone is just simply the best. Yeah.
Can we see the switchable
Yeah.
on there?
You want to hold on? I'm going to do this.
Oh, we're gonna.
Yep.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, so you can see the frequency responses and the pickup patterns on the KSM-9 there. I should also mention the KSM-9 has gold-plated XLR connectors internally and externally.
Yes.
On there.
Again, she's very fancy. The
So
KSM-9.
It's very fancy.
Yes.
Shock mount built in.
Yes.
So handling noise is virtually eliminated there.
Yeah, just my cable that's going wonky. But yeah, on the microphone itself, you can switch those polar patterns, which is handy if you're in different environments, if you want to go from that cardioid to supercardioid or the hypercardioid model as well. So it gives you options there, which is why we have those two. In case you're wondering why you would ever need to switch your polar patterns during a performance, that's probably not mid-performance, but depending on the venue that you're in.
And I just thought of this, going back really quick to the SM58, which is where we started. Not to change the subject, even though I'm totally changing the subject.
Yeah, go for it.
SM58 does not have a switch. However, there is a version of the SM58 called the SM58S, which does have a switch. So if you do like to have that on-off switch on there, it is available. Sorry.
That's really, and that's very cool to have if you are in any sort of public speaking thing where you want to have control from the mic itself, or if you're doing karaoke, if you're DJing and you have people coming up to use your microphone and you want to be the one who's turning it on and off, or you want to be able to kill it real quick, that's a really good option there. So yes, 58 with a switch, it comes in handy. Speaking from experience. Yes, definitely.
All right. Nice. Well, that's what I've got for you. Unless Laura, you've got.
Well, no, I was going to say these are not all of our microphones that we make in terms of live performance mics, but this is kind of a nice variety from the SM58, which is kind of your, utilitarian, amazing, legendary workhorse microphone, all the way up through the KSM-9, which is for your professional applications. So there's a lot in the middle there, though. And if you have questions, if you're like, how the heck do I choose? It really comes down to where are you going to be using this microphone? If you're going to be using it on louder stages, then you want to get something probably with a supercardioid pickup pattern that's going to be much more tight onto the source that's coming into it. But again, trying these microphones out whenever you can is going to be the best thing to do, because microphones are very specific to your instrument. If you're a vocalist, it's very specific to how you're using it, how you're holding it, how you interact with it, and how you engage with it. And you'll notice as you're singing through different microphones that some just feel better than others. That's why when I first sang through the SM86, I was like, where have you been all my life? Because it just was such a difference. Just like when I played my Taylor guitar for the first time and I was like, this is it. This is my instrument. But, again, you got to kiss a few frogs before you find your prince. Is that a good analogy? I don't know. Yeah. But do we have any questions, Derek, is what I'm wanting to know as I'm babbling about frogs and kissing them.
and I mean, shopping for a microphone is really no different than shopping for any other instrument. There's some models are geared for certain applications. You might enjoy the tone of one model over another model. And that doesn't mean it's any better or worse. It's just what you prefer and what you think sounds great on your voice or, what you are playing.
Right. Derek, we can't hear you. Are you going to share with us today?
Oh, there we go.
There you
I muted myself. Always remember to unmute yourselves, folks.
Always.
Always. That's rule number one in audio.
Yes.
I want to stick right there, Russ, because I think that's a conversation that is an interesting one to have, where I think no matter what concentration you're talking about, what creative fields you're talking about, there's the technical way, and then there's always the people that, when it comes to music, you're always going to think of like Jimi Hendrix,
Right.
who didn't necessarily stick to a traditional approach, but that became his thing. He did it great. That's what he was known for. And so I think when you talk about, a mic, that there might be a mic where it might not be the quote unquote best mic for you, or
Mhm.
deliver the best sound, or what one person might consider the best sound. But how much leeway is there as far as from a creative perspective, where it's like, you know what, this mic makes me sound kind of like this, but I like it. And
Well, I
that's the
think,
mic I want to go with.
yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, Jimi Hendrix actually used the SM57, I believe, at Woodstock, which they have at headquarters, I believe,
Oh, nice.
in a nice shiny case. But yeah, I mean, again, just like any other instrument, microphones have different tones, different use cases, and stuff like that. So, um, the best thing, like Laura said, best thing to do is to try it out, and you'll find your microphone with you'll have that aha moment, and you'll be like, oh, this is the one. Just like any other instrument. I'm a guitar player, so I know, same thing. I have a Taylor also, so when I sat down, I played that Taylor. I was like, yeah, that's it. Maybe
You
I
just
couldn't tell
know
you
when you.
exactly why, but it's a feeling you get where you know that that's just the right one.
Mhm. Now, if people had to choose between a mic that is best for their voice and a mic that is best for their environment, say you have somebody who's working with a certain environment that's not easily changed,
Mhm.
where would you direct people? Would you have them go towards the mic that's better for their voice, or better for what environment they're forced to work in?
I think there's.
Um, yeah, for me, I'd go for the environment, honestly, because you can do a couple things with EQ and post. If you're talking about recording, when it comes to live performance, though, I always go with what fits the vocalist best.
Interesting.
What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, I agree because again, I mean, there's especially in a studio type situation, you can always EQ things and fix things. For live, you want your voice, your tone to come across.
And final question here: which is easier to pick a mic for, vocal or instruments,
Ooh,
and why?
I don't
Is
know.
there
That's a
anything that
tough
jumps out?
one.
Because you know what, you
That's
never
a
really think of
tough
it.
one.
It's like I didn't ever really think of, because I'm not a musician. So I never really
It's
thought of putting a mic next to like a drum kit, like a drummer obviously would. You don't
Right.
think of those applications for it. And then I remember I got one of my audio interfaces, and it's like, oh, well, it has inputs for instruments and this and that. And I'm like, wait, and it just hit me. And I'm like, oh, wait, you mean you can use mics for other things that aren't vocals?
yeah.
Wow, mind
You
blown.
can. Yes.
It's a tough one, and there's a lot of different avenues that you can go with this. I would say for for live sound, um, I'm always going to want to find the microphone that preserves my tone and makes me sound the way that I want to sound. In a
Yeah.
studio, I can always, if we're lucky enough to have multiple microphones, you can mic up a guitar cabinet with multiple microphones and blend them all together and come up with all different tones. And same thing with vocals in a studio. And you may not always have that ability when you're playing live. Usually you don't have that ability when you're playing live. You're not going to sing
Mhm.
into, three microphones at the same time. But
Not traditionally, no.
yeah, not traditionally. It would look funny.
Yeah, but you can, when you're using like an interface, for example, you could have the direct line coming from an instrument and also mic it. And that's usually
Right.
cool with the guitar to do, just so you have some options to capture the natural resonance, but also make sure you're capturing the cleanest tone. So yeah, I wouldn't say one is easier than the other though, Derek.
Yeah.
That's just not fair to singers. No, I think it just depends. Cause like what if you're forced, or what if you're faced with, a 100-year-old violin, and then which microphone do you
Yeah.
choose? It's different. It depends on that instrument and where it's going to resonate and what mic is going to work best. And there's some that are geared towards specifically instrumental applications and some that are for vocal applications. But we've seen people put microphones on all kinds of crazy things that we never intended them to be put on. So
Yeah.
that just says you just got to try and experiment. Use your ears. Everything you
Yeah.
do, wear headphones, wear earphones, make sure that you are listening to what is going on so that you can
Yeah.
compare and use, those ears on your head. That's what they're there for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all these, frequency charts that we're showing you and all of that, it's great to highlight certain things, but it doesn't tell you what the microphone sounds like. So
Right.
you really need to get in there and listen to them.
Totally. Now, I'm going to throw in a bonus question here. So you see, everyone has their modifications to their studio spaces or wherever they're streaming from or recording music. Is there any, and people will have like the foam padding, and
Mhm.
sometimes you see it in strips. Is there any rhyme or reason? Is it certain things you definitely want to cover up, or is it, if you have the entire room covered in foam, you're only covering a certain spot, or is it come down to cost?
Yeah.
Well, there's differing schools of thought on that. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's all going to come down to what you want your room to sound like. There are those people that want to cover every square inch of their room, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they want their room to sound completely dead, and that's fine. And then you can add some smooth reverb. You'll have a lot more control over it doing it that way. However, if you cover strategically your first reflection points in your room, that's going to, it's not going to soundproof your room. And that's another misconception,
Oh,
that
yeah.
these foam pads that are covering up your walls are soundproofing. They are not soundproofing.
No.
All that they're going to do is absorb reflection off of the wall. It's not going to keep sound from coming into your room from outside, from traffic and stuff like that. To truly soundproof a room, you need to hire a contractor, and they build you a room inside your room, and there's that's soundproofing.
Yes.
That's not to say that the foam pads aren't worth it. I have a bunch, well, not currently, but I have a bunch of them, and the fabric wrap fiberglass, yeah. And I mean, it helps so much. It really does. But if you have a room that sounds nice with a little bit of natural reverb in there, you might not want to cover every square inch. You might want the mic to pick that up because it sounds smooth and natural, and it's ultimately it's preference. It's the sound that you're looking for. If it sounds good to you, then it's right. That's it.
Stop hanging the egg crates.
Yeah. Cancel egg crate.
Been laying mattresses up against my walls for these streets.
I mean, there is something to be said for acoustic treatment, and that's what Russ was talking about. So soundproofing, like you said, you got to put a room inside a room, but acoustic treatment will remove some of those reflections and help you get the less echo in your space if you're hearing that, or less reverb. So you can do that by, putting a rug down on the floor, putting some absorbing pieces of artwork on the wall that aren't glass fronted like all of mine are, not sitting next to a window like I do. But normally I use an MP7, which is our microphone that blocks those sounds out, which Derek, you're on the SM7B, but like this one for podcasting and content creating will reject all those sounds because it's a cardioid pickup pattern dynamic microphone. So although my Beta 58 is kind of crushing it right now, I'm not hearing too much of my space.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah. And that's why I ask, because it's like you always see different treatments.
Yeah.
And I figure that's, there's different factors that play in. But, I guess, Russ, with what you were talking about in the people that cover every inch in foam and then add it, would that be, to put it in a photography analogy, would that be like someone, I guess, putting something on, shooting something on a green screen and then, we can make it look real in post. We could do whatever we have to do, versus somebody who's like, you know what? No, we're going to light this exactly how we want it. We're going to get the little nuances. We're going to get some shadows in here. Someone who wants a more organic sound straight out of, camera here, straight out of mic.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way, but yeah, it'd be kind of like, shooting on a green screen instead of, maybe going to the location.
That's a really cool
shoot there.
Analogy.
That is a very cool analogy. Yeah.
I'm trying to process in my brain here that is, learning audio as I go. But I guess it's really just a choice of, do you, some people love the really post-production side of things, where people just want clean, and some people like that. I don't know. I'm more of like a garage band kind of. I like I
Yeah.
like a little
Like it
kicker.
raw. You like the raw
Exactly.
energy.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Copy
And
that.
again, I mean, there's nothing
fake
wrong
that.
with covering every square inch of your room if that's the sound that you're
Mhm.
going for and that's what you like, or if you like to work that way and then add the ambience after. There's nothing wrong with any of this.
Different
It's
schools of
just
thought.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
but if
Different
you're
strengths.
finding yourself in a space that is not acoustically treated like most of us are, don't sweat the small stuff. Get a mic that's naturally going to block those out. Don't be buying a large diaphragm condenser for your space that looks like this, because you will be wildly disappointed at the sounds that are going into it. Although I do have my KSM 32 here and it's a large diaphragm condenser, but pop filters can go a long way, and getting close to your source. If you are using a condenser and you're like, well, what the heck, Laura, I have a condenser at home. Should I throw it away? No, but just get close to it, get a pop filter so that you're not going to have plosives. And just that will help eliminate and reduce some of the reflections naturally coming back into the mic if you are physically in front of it, blocking those from coming. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know.
Perfect sense. Well,
Makes
see,
sense to
as
me.
you guys, as always, bring us new information. You weave in some product, you weave in some real everyday case scenarios. So it's always good to see, what we're using for certain situations, because I feel like it's all situational. And it's like any gear. If there's no quote unquote best, it's the best for
Yeah,
the case, the best for the person, the best for the situation. So options
exactly.
are good.
Exactly. Just like there's no, right or wrong camera to use, there's no right or wrong microphone. They're geared for certain things, but that doesn't mean it can't be used for something else entirely different.
Definitely. And it's the gift giving time of year for a lot of people. So a great time to go try out some mics, see what you like for
It
yourself.
is.
Or if you see that person sitting across from you in your apartment all day who's streaming from their laptop microphone, help them out.
Yeah. Get them an MV5C.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Do it. Just
Plenty of options, and that's what I love is there's so many things to choose from, and it is cool. I know I probably say this every time I have you guys on, but it's cool the more you learn about audio and how much you can shape it with the tools you have and how much different you can sound. It's really, I tell people all the time, you meet me in person and I don't talk the same.
You have said that before. Again,
It's so true.
that'll come out in our blooper reel of the green
That's
room.
right.
There we go. One day I'm gonna turn it on. I'm gonna host you guys from
You
my
need to.
computer, and we're
We
gonna
have
do
so
that.
much fun with
Oh,
that.
that'd
I
be
would-
fun.
Yep.
There we
I
go.
would,
We're gonna do a guess when he has a real mic on.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, well, look, it's always great to have you guys on. A ton of information here. And if you haven't watched our previous webinars with Laura and Russ, please tune into those as well. You can find everything on our Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, facebook.com/BH Event Space, and just go to the video section there. Or if you go on to vimeo.com/BH Event Space, you can find it there. If you're on Instagram, we are at BH Event Space. So make sure to check us out for everything that we have going on and coming up. But alas, that is all we have for now. Huge thank you to Shure for hosting today's event as usual. And a special thank you to Laura and Russ for being at the helm and getting all those questions answered and information out to all the viewers.
Well,
Happy to
thank
be
you
here.
for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you guys again. Another rendition of the virtual event space is in the books. Catch y'all next time.